Whatever.
Because it would be nice if you go to the party to bring the
smell my
sign.
dog.
So that.
I used to my dog.
For Anna's party.
It's January.
I know, but-
Lots of time to plan that. Okay, whatever.
Because it would be.
Who's that pretty?
I may throw it away.
Oh,
No, don't.
I'll just throw in the backseat of my car.
But
I've got all the stickers in there.
Hey, you guys alive?
Thank you.
Thank you, my
Thank
dear.
you.
And you can just shut it all down when you're done and.
Yes. We've actually managed to do that.
Yeah.
Turning it on sometimes. Thank you, Terry.
You're welcome.
All right, shoot. I may have to borrow a pen, guys.
I brought extra.
Oh, wait a minute. I might have
just want somebody left.
another place to look.
So nobody's owned up to the
Yes.
breaking of this thing. Okay.
All right. I am calling the meeting to order at 5 o'clock. So,
She's right, January 6th.
not a good, not an auspicious day anymore.
Yeah,
So. Are there adjustments to the agenda?
no,
I have one very small, one, which is on B6. I would like to call that budget and funding.
Say that again?
B6 of the agenda, which says funding right now. If it could say budget and funding,
can you speak a little louder?
no, I can't. Here. Seriously, okay, I will try. Just tell me when I'm mumbling. All right. Review and approval of prior meeting minutes. Did everybody have a chance to read them? Any corrections? Would someone like to make a motion?
A second, the motion,
All right.
accept the minutes.
All in favor of approving the November 8 minutes?
I'll say I was there.
Okay. Done. Old business. Vacancies. Sally sent a note to Rob Sherrill asking if he'd be.
And I
Interested.
didn't I forward his answer to you? Thought I
No,
did.
I got the question, not the answer.
Oh, he's in Antarctica for now for.
That would be quite a commute.
Not sure we have Zoom.
I know. Could we zoom to Antarctica?
Yeah, I thought I sent
No, I,
sent
well,
his answer to
I don't
back.
think,
Um,
unless I missed it. When is he back?
next summer.
So he's really only here in summers because the rest of the time he's,
Well, I'm not sure he's
On
gonna
ice
be in
floes.
Antarctica every,
right.
actually, he's gonna be between Antarctica and New Zealand,
Oh, my.
but I'll forward it to you.
It doesn't sound like a.
He expressed interest.
Yes,
Ah,
when he settles, he'd like to.
wonderful, wonderful.
When
In fact,
when Megan
I
said.
will forward the conversation to the group.
A good idea. That's great.
He would be great.
He would be great.
And who is this?
He's I don't know, marine biologist, what is he?
What's his
Something like
name?
that.
Rob Sherrill.
At Rutgers.
And I think Linda must know him
He's
too.
not
because
Erky.
He used to be on that.
Erky and Lillian's
predecessor
house,
group.
Erky Fish, down behind,
Behind what?
down in the coal behind you.
Oh. Is he? No, I guess I don't know. That's all right. Not Beverly's son-in-law. No, can't be him. I don't know. I guess I don't know. It's all right. I'll get to know him if he joins that
In
group.
one of the places that had a dock,
Yeah.
has a dock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
now has a float too.
Mhm.
It filled in a float
So
last year.
maybe we could invite him in the meantime to be an associate member, and then when he comes back in summer, he'll be whatever.
I'll
Anyway,
send you,
that's-
I'll send you the conversation.
Okay, it's great that he's interested. And the other person I have in mind, I just don't think I can talk to till next year. She's, if you know the names, what's his first name? Baumgartner and Chris Wright were the parents of that doctor who was killed when the
Oh.
mast broke and then
Mhm. What a horrible fluke.
in that horrible
Mhm.
freak accident.
Mm.
And I think they just have to get through.
They live in
Season.
Spruce Head.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are.
they live up Dublin Road. I think.
Oh, Dublin?
Yeah.
Snow Hill Lane.
Okay,
Yeah,
South
So-
Southampton.
Are you
I
bringing
think
that up for what reason?
pardon?
Yeah, I just didn't know why you're bringing that up.
Because I would like to ask her to be on the Conservation Commission, but it's just too soon.
Too soon.
I mean, I'm gonna call and ask how she's doing, but not,
Mhm.
Yeah,
so,
although sometimes, you could mention the possibility in the future. Sometimes it's helpful to have things that you
Think about, other
Need to-
than, yeah.
need to think about that have nothing to do.
I
with
don't
your-
want her to think I'm calling because
No.
that's why.
Yeah, I know it, it's.
I
it's
just
a
can't figure
sensitive-
out a way to do it that might not blow up. I
Yeah.
just don't wanna do something that adds to the pain.
No.
So
Great.
that's the person I have in mind, and for all I know, even when I ask her, she'll say no,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we still need to be thinking.
Anybody else have any
I,
ideas?
all the people in town I know are in the room right now, so.
True. Well, that's okay. On to the proposed forest preserve, and I just want to start by noting item 8 on the list, if you've got your agendas handy, which is,
There's not 8.
there's no 8.
Yeah, there's an 8
Where?
Oh, I don't.
It was
on the agenda.
on the final agenda, there's an 8.
Ooh.
Draft.
Oh,
You're looking at that draft.
I really
only
wasn't
have
paying
one.
attention. I guess. What is 8?
8 is new working group.
How do we get down to 8?
I'm just,
Probably good.
I'm
thing
just
since we're
flagging
not gonna have
8
it.
to say that we cannot, at our hour-long, hopefully monthly meetings, do all the work that's going to need to be done to plan for, this new forest preserve. So I'm going to be proposing a working group, which can only be 3 of us, plus associate members like Sally, so that we don't break the rule about having a quorum.
Mhm.
And that would be enough for now, but it's going to have to be a group that is prepared to do work between monthly meetings. It's going to be an ongoing job. And there may be more, we may break off into different working groups on different
Mhm.
aspects. But this is one heavy lift we've taken on. Which could be exciting, but also we need to take seriously how much work it's going to be. So for today, we go back to the top. And I propose to combine discussion of 1 and 2, which is condition of land, potential trails, and ATVs. And I would like to ask Leslie to take the lead on that.
You were at the meeting last night, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So I guess they haven't quite,
Well, 2 meetings,
Ban-
right? Monday and Tuesday.
me too, not Tuesday though. I guess they haven't quite banned it, but they're going to put a sign up. If that's as far as, is that how you understand it?
I think we should summarize.
Yeah,
So
let's-
The public hearing that invited, at which all the registered owners of ATVs from
Oh, yeah.
South Thomaston, Alzhead, and St. George have been, receiving a letter inviting them specifically to come to that public hearing to talk about the use of ATVs on the public land in South Thomaston.
And Thompson, right?
Nobody showed up. Okay, we were, the only member presence were us, members of the Conservation Commission, and Terry and John of the Select Board.
And Sue Snow.
Sue Snow. So, how do we interpret that? That either people were too busy or that they do not care, or less pleasant interpretation would be that they're gonna do what they want to do, no matter what. And so in any case, you know,
Is there evidence that people are coming from other towns
Yes.
using the trail?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I meant, yeah.
Well, St.
John,
George's.
specifically, John traced the license plates of the trailers that were
Okay.
bringing in the ATVs, and they are not from
So
here.
they're trailing ring in, it's not just
Yes.
local
Yeah, some
people
are-
that.
some are
that butt up
local,
against
but
it, right,
many are
yeah.
not.
No,
so I would have been interested personally in hearing from them that they enjoy the recreation and that there was a group who was willing to behave responsibly.
Trail maintenance.
Yes, and do that. If they were to commit to repair the damage they cause, you know, around mud season or whatever, we could have a discussion so that everybody could get something out of it, but without any member present, I guess the majority present is gonna vote the way they see it fit, you know, that's the way it works. So,
I'll tell you,
that's why,
if it gets banned, I bet you'll see some people. show
Well,
up.
Yes,
They'll show
so,
up.
Yeah.
so then,
well,
well,
they've
first of all, Leslie and John reported on their many treks
We
out,
have, we've
to
been
the-
4 times.
and what did you find?
Well, I know John showed us some stuff, but I just brought this so I can show you what we actually created in trail. I mean, a trail's left of it, we're not, isn't it, well, Annette was the one that kind of got me excited about this, because you're right, you don't have to have anybody special come and pay them, you know, for how to make, to make a trail, because you can kind of make them part of them yourself.
yeah,
I mean, obviously, this isn't a trail at this point, but if you look at under, see what the yellow is?
yeah.
Yep,
Okay, that's what John. Okay. But see where the green arrow is?
yes,
That's where John and I actually made a little trail, and it's really, I mean, it's a pretty, it almost looks like a trail now, you could almost find it. So if you, it's pretty well marked, actually, we marked it pretty well. But right under the name South Thomaston, you'll see that Don Plethro's right away, he wants to eliminate that.
right,
So we've been walking straight down, follow the yellow up to where the arrow is. And we made an actual trail through there. It's, I have to laugh because I said, it was really pretty dense. And I said, you remember that woman on the Appalachian Trail that was only 100 feet off the trail and she
Yeah.
died? You remember that, John? I said, I want this really, I want to
Well
mark
marked,
this.
well marked.
I want to mark this really well. When I turn around, I want to see another marker over there. So now it's very well marked. It's marked with orange and green. And I'd be happy to take anybody down it. You know,
Okay.
it's really kind of, it's
Yeah.
kind of fun. And it's a nice little, we made a little windy trail and it's up a little, it's on high ground.
Well, if you're gonna walk out there again, give me a shout.
Yeah, I will, I will.
I'm
yeah.
not at something I have to be, I'll. go
And
with it.
then when you come down to it, you're gonna hit that other road, okay, that we now own. And the little
See,
round
they
thing
did
is
it
the
in two
quarry.
places.
mhm,
So you actually walk down and then take a
How about
a
that?
right for a couple of feet almost, it seems like, and the quarry's right there. And this is the,
Where's the quarry?
see the little round circle?
right on the green arrow.
Where's the quarry?
Yep,
Ah,
Yeah,
that's how
yeah.
far I walked out that
Yeah.
time.
That's where there is a pond there.
well,
The
that's
quarry.
the quarry anyway. So this is just, so John and I have been walking around this, and it's, you know, in part it's quite nice, in other parts it's very rough. And wet, and the ATVs really have done a really, I mean, I don't think I realized it until I really started walking it over and over again, how horrible it is. It's deep, deep ruts, really deep
She was
ruts.
saying
I
more
would-
than a yard deep.
Hold on, because when you walk all the way down, so all the way to here, that's where I was asking Henry. You end up near his property, and if you look at that map, there is serious wetland there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
part of the wetness is probably the natural state.
Well, there's a whole, that's a little
Yeah.
further down than
Yeah.
this, see where the yellow is?
Yeah.
If you follow this, that's over here somewhere.
Right,
We
yeah.
walked to that.
Yeah,
It almost looks like it's a big wetland.
yeah,
Yeah.
But that's not that far. We had to walk back quite a way to get this. So this is just a potential idea of, it could be a walk to the quarry and back, which is very short. And then this could be a long
Feel that,
Mhm.
sure.
and it's just a, just a potential, but I mean, it's just fun walking it, and I finally, know it now. I feel like I really kind of know it now. You know, but before we were talking about it and I kept saying,
Do
where's
you have
that?
any sense of the lengths of it, like when you walk?
Yes, we did, actually, John. Not my, you know, he kept doing time wise. And I said, no, time wise doesn't mean anything. I said, I walk faster than some people walk faster than me. So he had time wise, but I think you'd have to come with a, like
Yeah.
a pedometer and mile. But from here to, from where you would park is where the tennis courts are. And we'd like, John and I just started, not we're the boss of anything like that, but rather than go to the stump dump to make a little road around the stump dump. So you're not going by Dana's little shack and stuff like that and trucks coming.
Yeah.
So by the, and that's kind of wet, but we haven't even thought of that, but we haven't even done that. But anyway, this is just a potential circle, because I always like, when I walk a circle, I don't like going up and back. I was like a circle.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, it's a potential, it's walkable. But we had waterproof boots on, believe me, it's very, very wet. And as I said, some places with the ATVs are
But there
just,
could be,
horrible.
if we way down the road,
Hmm.
you know, there could be a raised walk there
oh, yeah,
over the wettest part.
yeah. The little one that we did, that looks so small, but it didn't feel so small when we were doing it, is all high ground. It's really nice. And
Mhm.
Don Prothero came and helped with a chainsaw and actually cut more than John and I had. So it's a really pretty clear trail through there now to the quarry. If you went straight up into the quarry, right there, you know, I think we could almost say 20 volunteers and just walk it a couple of times and you're gonna get a trail eventually, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But before we do that, if you remember when we had walked with the foresters, they had mentioned, especially when you have a road that has been damaged the way that
Mhm,
one is, they recommend actually doing trail that don't go parallel to what's damaged, but kind
Mhm.
of, you know,
Yeah.
go
Well, at this
around.
point, we're just getting
Yeah.
there. I mean, we're so far
We get to
away.
the point where you can make choices.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
we're far away
before
from
we
that.
got down too much.
Yeah.
Question. Was there any reason why you stopped before you got to that little piece of property that came from Klein?
This is really dense that.
Where are you? I don't know where you are.
That has never been cut.
The little,
like, in a- in a
the little
long, long time.
rectangle
Yeah.
Because
inside.
there's an existing path there. There's
Yeah.
an existing cart path there.
There is?
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of, you know, John said, yeah, it's really clear. And I'm going, really?
I
But it
walked it, we tried to reach that, you know, pink
Yeah.
rough line and the trees, I mean, the dense, we couldn't see 20 feet beyond, I mean, it was just trees, so.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I just did that for people. Anyway, it's just been fun because we've done it 4 times now, so
Well, it does sound very promising and exciting,
Yeah.
and then if we look at it, so you just need to look here, and then there is still this whole portion of this land.
It
so-
goes, it could be a preserve almost, but you know, it's pretty. I mean, that itself would take a lot of work, but actually what wouldn't take as much work is the little one to the quarry.
Yeah,
If we could fix the
Well,
ATV stuff.
if one of the things we're trying to do is work these trails, and if you've got something that started, you're not gonna do this in the, well, probably not in the winter, but it's like we get people together to do a roadside cleanup, if we could maybe, as the Conservation Commission, just put out as we have. a
Oh,
trail
yeah.
maintenance day.
Yeah, yes, maybe not even the springs be really wet, but in the beginning of the
Well,
summer,
in
yeah,
the
I think that'd
summertime,
be
I
really
mean,
nice.
just play, as far as the timing goes and where it is.
Yeah.
It gets people involved in the property and stuff like
August
that.
is the time when it's the driest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, a town like this, you should be able to get 3 or 4 people.
Did you say
to
the
show up,
driest
you
now?
know.
Before we
August.
get to
Okay,
people
yeah, I was
coming
gonna
and
say.
cutting, I would like, you know, to propose what, you know, we are thinking about to Marcy. I mean, she knows, you know,
Who?
from the George River Land Trust,
Oh, yeah.
Marcy. has been-
Marcy Bonner, who has just cycled off the trails job into a different job, but
But
gave us
still
another
willing to
name.
help.
There's
and
another name. of
just, you know,
somebody.
so that we could walk the proposed trail with her, you know, somebody who
Okay.
knows.
Mm.
Mhm.
And, you know, see if they have advice is, I'd like a stamp of approval from somebody who has experience with building trails and,
Right, they could look at something we've already done, so you wanna kind of avoid that, so
Yeah.
the next time you see a situation, you say,
Yeah.
we need to go to the left or the right. here."
yeah.
I just like the fact that when
That's
Annette
what-
was here, she said, why spend all the money for this or that, when you can really kind of make some trails on your own?
Oh,
And
I understand, but I think her point being.
Yeah,
is
oh,
just that-
absolutely,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
yeah.
Like the little one, the little tiny one.
Do-
I don't think we need anybody,
wanna-
because believe me, it's only maybe a quarter of a mile, and it's high and dry, and it kind of winds, it's really kind of
Right.
pretty.
And if we need any guidance, there are folks like those in St. George who've done trails.
Oh,
and
absolutely,
we're happy to
absolutely. This is just
mentor us.
a thought, I'm just saying, because I,
It's a great thought and we
Yeah.
want to follow through with it.
yeah,
And it's just a
It's
it's just
matter
a
of
start,
It goes on the to-do list. I'm mindful that we can get bogged down.
yeah, okay.
You'll
okay.
excuse the expression.
So-
Yeah,
In
no,
any of this,
anyway, just saying, it's
I
been
just-
fun,
yes, and thank you for doing it.
No, my
I also just wanted to summarize what the select board did decide to do last night, which is they've talked to the town's attorney and asked what they can do in the current state of affairs before they have gone to the town meeting or written an ordinance or anything else. And basically, I think what she's telling them is that as landowners, they can post their land and say no ATVs. And that is what they decided to do last night, so that they're going to put up several no ATV signs. No ATVs past this point, which will be right where you come in to the, on your way to the stump
Different.
dump. My guess is that that will get the attention of the
I
ATV
think it will
folks,
too.
as that letter seemed to have failed to
Yeah.
do. And we'll see what happens, but they also, to be able to assess penalties, take any action, we will have to have an ordinance, and to do that, we will have to have the blessing of town meeting, which could be a special town meeting, and before we do that, we are going to have to educate the town, sort of as we did, about why buying the land is a good idea.
Mhm.
So, but I thought the really encouraging thing was that John, who began by saying, well, they've used that
Mhm.
area for ATVs forever, and I would just hate to bar them all, yada, yada,
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
kind of changing his position,
Well, two
having
things,
seen the damage
two things
and
to see
seen
the
that they
damage.
didn't turn up.
Exactly.
That they
They
had
didn't turn up to.
not one, no, not
To give any excuse.
It's not just
Right.
turning up, but as he said, he received no email, no phone call,
Nothing.
nobody expressed.
nobody
Nobody
responded
reached
to
out in
whatever.
any possible way.
And
So,
so that did not sit well with him.
Well, as far as like at a town meeting, I was involved in 2 cases with ATVs when I was still living in New Hampshire, and both times the only people that came in favor of it were people that have ATVs. There was not a single person in either audience that didn't own an ATV that thought it was a good idea to have ATVs. So generally speaking, if you can get a public meeting, this town isn't a lot different, people are pretty close to similar, and I have a feeling you'd run into the same thing, so. Yeah, but
We're going to-
anything we can do to help them put an ordinance on the floor, yeah, let's
Right,
do that.
well, I think we're going to be going down that road.
Okay,
So, okay, onward, consulting forester and Marin's proposal, and Annette sent us a kind of discouraging interactive map of the other foresters who are not nearby. But it would be good to get at least one other proposal just to have context.
well, this is where, we have all these layers of actions and we need to figure out what's most pressing. And, getting a forester to do a plan will require money. So then we get back into fundraising. To fundraise, we say we are going to apply for grants, but most grant applications require to have a survey. So it looks to me that one of the most pressing need is how can we get a survey? And before calling foresters, I'm of the opinion that maybe we should contact surveyors first. And trying to minimize the cost of surveying the land that now the town owns. So you went to the effort of getting a copy of the current survey. And how much more information can we gather by calling the abutters to see if they have, we need a serious survey done that could be accepted by all the grant funding organizations. So, I mean, do you see where I'm going?
I
with
think
it?
you're right.
Well, I think,
Yeah.
one thing you should keep in mind is that that survey is 25 years old.
Yep,
Nobody will rely on it. It has to be updated. And
that's
so
what I'm talking
we
about.
could work with LaBranche that would pretty much, from a price standpoint, letting the surveyor who can update his work have the job is going to be less expensive than any other route, I would think.
Are you saying so, contacting LaBranche?
I'm not talking about contacting anybody yet, but
So-
yes, I think that's probably the route we would need to go. But as you've been saying, we also need to say what, I think one thing the way land ownership seems to work in Maine is even if we have now expanded what the town owns in terms of the, there's a queue of ownership, it's still going to be the town-owned land and everybody who owned it back to when the first settler landed, and then the Smith land and the Klein land. They're all going to be looked at by surveyors separately and by land use attorneys.
Yes, so where are
So
you?
we're still going to need to survey. What they'll do is they'll say, I happen to know our property is 5 little bits put together. And our deeds recite the history of ownership of each of the 5 bits. You don't get to just say, and here's what it is now. So, I mean, you could have something that describes that, but we're still probably we'll have to ask maybe the town attorney, maybe somebody's going to have to explain what do we need to do. And I think we're going to need to survey it in pieces. We might have the same surveyor do it all at the same time, but
So you're talking about
Yeah.
not just doing the exterior line of the new block. of
that's
land,
right.
you're
Nobody
talking about
does it that way
old
here.
Interior lines that existed too.
The old interior lines are still sort of there and,
That's what you have to
invisibly.
find in order to establish what you
Right.
end up with.
Right.
Well, it's a reasonable question. If you're going for grants and I'm saying this whole lot, I'm just pulling a number, it's 2,000 acres and there's actually
You
3
wish.
property lines in there, right? Do they care about the interior property lines or do they just care about the exterior lines when you're going for grant?
Well, they
Right.
want a registered survey. And that survey is going to use the interior lines and glue them all together.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, I have not heard that the selectmen are at this point thinking about joining this into a single piece of property.
They are
Yeah,
thinking
but
about
with
using
the-
it that way.
yeah.
One thing they want from us ultimately is a recommendation of how much of what I'll just call the original town-owned
Mhm.
property to add in. And that's going to bring, for that, we will need survey and we'll need to be
Okay,
looking on the land to see what makes sense, what point makes sense. Somewhere back.
so as
of
far as surveys
something.
go, there's one person that currently is doing surveys, still alive, still doing work, that knows something about this property.
Mhm.
right?
did
And
the
other thing
survey
is
in
to get somebody else
1999.
that's never been on the piece of property, but that decision ends up being, who gets hired is the selectman's decision, right? Our recommendation is, and if it comes to that, is that one of the first things that needs to be done is the survey.
Well, they'll
Because
give
so
us.
much else
estimates.
depends upon it.
Yes,
If
Yeah.
there is this, then is the surveyor available? How much does it cost? How many,
Mhm. And maybe we need to get a couple of estimates
Yes,
from
we're a town,
surveyors.
you know.
So as the Conservation Commission, do you think it's our responsibility to sit and research the surveyors and then present to the selectmen a list? Here's 3 guys. This is the guy that did the original. We've talked to these other 2. They said they could be available in the future to do a job of this
It's a
size.
catch-22,
They're gonna
because you need to define the job to the surveyor so that we can get an estimate. And to define the job, we need to know how we're gonna combine the currently, you know, the old town piece, you know.
Yeah,
Well, I think we have a fairly, we have the start of an idea of how much of the town land we think
Well,
it
that-
makes sense to put
So
in. It's not such a
as
big.
working groups go, where we wanted to set up a working group, does any 2 people want to get together and start calling up a few?
Well, that is the kind of
People-
thing that we need a working.
Well,
group
one of
to-
the first points is we need to get an idea of how much of the original purchase of the town's property that is going into this. Did you and John have any ideas when you were out there on the land?
That,
Where you ought to, where it ought to stop being what we
Easement.
use and become what we're holding?
I think I think bring it to the selectmen on that. And John has, he's one selectman. I know John doesn't want to give it all up. He
Well,
feels,
No.
he feels very strong about
Yeah.
where, I can't remember exactly what he said. I
Well,
mean,
up to the salt shed, I mean, that all
Well,
that. is
obviously
gonna
that,
be,
but
you know,
he's
Yeah,
thinking more
It
than
makes
that.
sense
so.
to just be
yeah,
in
you
a
gotta-
certain area. Yeah.
You
So
gotta have
could you
more than
point
just
to-
what's in the stump dump.
Where's the salt shed on here?
It'll be right where that little round circle is.
The first round, so.
The
The
fir-
first
no,
round
no,
circle, right there. Yeah,
What,
yeah,
this round circle?
yeah, this is where, about
Right there,
where,
yeah, right there.
this is the little,
Oh,
oh, that's not the salt shed.
No, no,
but
no.
Here's the little, this.
Shack.
No, I think that's the pond, the fire pond.
Okay.
all right, yes,
Yeah. So this is, I mean, at least till, I think this little circle here is just a stump dump in general.
all right.
Right.
It's certainly,
The one that with the arrow that from the word
Yeah,
stump dump.
yeah.
Yeah,
and
Stump
then
dump road.
salt shed is where?
It's
a little bit
that.
before that.
Yeah.
Before that,
Yeah.
so. I don't think we have any intention of, I mean, what you're describing is like. Only to about here that we're using now, but we don't have any intention of taking that much. I was thinking more back to maybe here.
Hmm.
Leaving the opportunity for the town to do other things
Yes,
they may
yes.
find the need for in
Yeah.
later
Yeah,
years.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, but the back parts, from the back up to X
Mm-hmm,
is all we're thinking about.
mm-hmm.
So
And-
you're thinking about, show me, because I didn't, where are you showing?
Well, that's all.
I'm not picking a place. I haven't been out there to see, but I'm not thinking we would
I
go
don't see what you're
forward.
showing.
I'm not,
Yeah.
see where my finger is? I'm not thinking we would go forward. Where
That,
the,
that's
Yeah.
about half of the original. purchase.
Yeah.
I'm
So-
thinking more like
About a third.
closer to 2/3 would go into,
I
East.
can't,
East.
I think the select board would quail at that.
You look at the thing there and it's like. About about where the yellow marker goes off the road is about 1/3.
Okay.
Well, we know this division needs to be made at some
Yeah.
point. It's not like it made tonight. It's not like it made by
No,
us. So we can have some recommendations.
But
Right now, we're looking at surveyors and the other thing
Yes.
we're looking at was,
Wouldn't prevent us from doing some things either. I mean, we could walk through, even though we could still have a trail through there,
Well,
even if they,
yeah, I mean, easements don't happen overnight. By the
Yeah.
time we get to writing up an
The
easement, we'll know where we
we
want to line.
don't,
Way down the
But
road.
I do agree with you. I think overall, when you look at the priority of the stuff that we need to do, the first thing that really needs to happen, and it's unfortunate because it's an expensive item. There's certain things that people can do as volunteer
Yeah,
basis to go out and mess around with trails and stuff.
well,
like
I mean,
that.
the thing we did, this is not even a suggestion, just that you, at this point, you can walk that now.
Well,
Yeah.
and
Can
I
walk that
see an
now.
advantage to trails is that one of the reasons that the town put forward and we put forward that this is a good idea as a recreational value. So even if it's minor, the little effort, that 2 people or 3 people, when one guy with a chainsaw can make in 2
Yeah,
afternoons,
yeah,
shows
yeah.
improvement on the land and,
Yeah.
you know, say, well, we're working on it, you know, we need volunteers.
So
Listen, it's just a,
what are the imposition that we have? It's essentially they come from the, sale of the Smith land, who clearly required not ATV permitted on it.
Right,
So our job is to help the town essentially implement that. And since we are looking at it for the Smith property, ex-Smith property, and given the client properties that are pretty much embedded in it, we need to make sure this protection extends to the client property.
right.
And then the town will determine at some meeting whether we want to include a section of the original town property into this.
I think we're beyond that. I think we're up to how much of the original
Yes.
town property.
I think we have to.
Well, I think, people may not have realized that we were going to protect some of the original property, land property. So that needs to be clarified, I think, with the rest of the town. And I agree that most,
Oh, yeah, well, whatever the select board decides to propose will have to be put to a town meeting.
yes, I don't anticipate any objection, given the,
Yeah.
everybody voted for
Yeah.
the, purchase. But,
I would just suggest, it's just a thought, and I'm only looking at a map and not at the land, that if we had the line go here, we would not have, we have this bizarre little property of
Yeah.
Nicholas
Oh,
Wharves,
yeah.
which is apparently just a swamp
It is. It's
that he
just a
pays
wet
taxes on. Anyway, but
every year.
other than that, other than
Does he
Wharf,
pay the taxes
Yeah,
on it?
yeah.
Because that wasn't
Nobody
clear
can,
on one of the
nobody can
original.
understand why.
anyway, if you did that, then we would have an outline
The middle of this.
that
This one I-
wasn't as complicated to manage
yeah,
as if we
Yeah.
had try to have a preserve that went down both sides of the
Yeah.
property. It could just be a much easier job to
yeah,
manage.
but it's like, again, that's gonna be for the town to determine.
I understand, but are gonna ask what we would recommend.
So this started because we started talking about a forester, and then it came up with,
Right.
we only have X amount, well, we need funding, so I kind of agree that survey is more important at this point than a forest.
Well, and we'll need serious money for both.
Yes, or not, but that's what started this conversation, where you brought. forward.
Yeah,
Do you think, that-
And for the surveyor, I mean, a large number was put forward, like $15,000 to $18,000, which is massive. But, I'd like to know, yes, what we are going to need. And in the end, so if we go, if we were to make a decision trace, like what is the minimum we need to do for people to enjoy the land? And right now, we own those parcels. And as, Leslie said, it's walkable.
I mean, you can use it now.
We can have volunteer labor, come and open some trails. The con of that is that we may run the risk to do some damage to the property by cutting into an area that shouldn't.
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah.
I'm so
But
far
I'm
beyond.
trying to,
This is just something we walk and just a potential, that's all it is.
so,
And
but-
the little one we did is just because we wanted, Don wants that away, so we can't use that after.
we're
that was a
meeting,
promise, right?
it's
Hmm?
like,
It was a
That's a
promise.
commitment.
A
The commitment, so that is no longer ours, or will not, it hasn't been voted on yet, but.
so the survey is needed for what purposes? If we are going to go for grants.
Grants,
And
right,
if we go for grants, we go for grants for which purpose?
right.
What? Because do we still, I think from what I understand from the people we talked to before, Landform in future could be a long shot, even though we don't need that much
It's a long
money.
shot and not much money.
Not much money. So then, do we have alternatives for grants to help with the purchase, or do we consider that the purchase is a done deal? And now we are going to,
we,
we can contribute some more to the purchase fund, but then, we need to tackle a new phase of fundraising, which would be
Mhm.
to get the survey done and then improvement. And, like the purchase of gates, eventually the bringing boulders, to really secure the access points and prevent the ATVs from coming to the land. So, gates and boulders, same thing, cost money.
Right.
And then, do we want to go further into a mission for education to include,
I think we'll
information?
be dead by the time this goes.
Right, so,
No,
So, because that's my point, so it's like,
You
do we
won't.
go with the least effort, and what do we really need? Do we even need a survey at that point?
well,
That's a
kind of what I'm
interesting
saying
approach.
is that in order for this land to get any kind of use at all, it's gonna require grant money. I just don't see the town honing up $80,000 or $100,000 to do over the course of 5 or 6 years to do improvements. And so what
But
you
that's
end
the
up
key.
needing is grants, and to get grants, as you say, you need
need the
a
survey.
survey that's acceptable to grants. So it strikes me that it's obviously the first thing we have to do if we want to continue a 5 to 12 year process of developing this piece of land into where it has public use and public access.
Just to let you know, we didn't cut anything except this tiny little piece.
So,
It goes
Nothing was
back.
cut. Nothing was cut.
You cut a few bushes, I mean.
Yeah, nothing, and
It's-
yeah.
We're not gonna do that much damage.
Just
No.
We're
take
just
a
not.
look.
So-
Like, if we want to go to the selectmen, what we need to do to help the selectmen is to sit back there and say, okay, we need 50, I'm just pulling the number, it could be more. We need $15,000 to do a grant, $20,000, I mean, to do a survey. Here's what we can do to help you raise that money at town meeting. By putting together like a little image, just of what we did in an afternoon, 2 people did in an afternoon, this is an
Or-
opportunity for everybody.
so
to-
I'm gonna use devil's advocate.
Yeah, please do.
It's like, we are a small town and we have many things going on, so people are going to feel, well, times are tough, I have no money to give, or very little. So can we achieve something by spending no money? And what I'm saying is, the money has been spent already to buy the land. We can still make an appeal for more contribution to help sponge that up, or replenish the reserve fund. And after that, can we just stop there and, looking for costless ways, through advice from experts in trail to just walk with us and say, yeah, what you're thinking of is
I
a
mean,
great idea.
right now, it can be used right
Yeah,
now.
that's the whole point. It is like,
No.
should we stop there?
it can be used right now, but it can't be protected.
Protected.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to put the point, we are going to have to convince people that we are doing what we're doing is needed, and that we are not wasting money or in any way possible.
Mhm.
So to protect it, so the protection comes with the easement, or is there another way of protecting it?
I don't, the town can say, we're the owners and here's the rules we wish to apply to it, and we're gonna write an ordinance that says that. And that's enforceable. What it's not is in perpetuity.
Mm.
Because
Voted out.
another
Only the.
Right. So we theoretically promised Jeff Smith the in perpetuity part. On the other hand, he's probably not going to come after us
And it's in the
anytime
deed.
soon.
It's in the deed.
It
so
is
it's
in the deed, we're supposed to do it. I think for a number of reasons. If we could, when and if we decide where the line is on the original town property between preserve and available to use for whatever, I think it would be useful to have a survey that
I'm for it.
demarcated that, and then we're in a position to set rules for that identified space and to get grants if we need it. So almost any way you turn, but I think it's sort of, I think first on the land, we should decide where we think that line should be. And make a recommendation to the select board,
Mhm.
and if they agree with us, or we can have a dialogue and move it back and forth a bit, come up with something to recommend to the town. With the town saying, yes, we recommend that you take the steps needed to make it a preserve, to be in a position to write ordinances to protect it, and to be in a position to get grants if you need for the preserve.
So I think
We
at this
don't
point,
have to do, for example, we don't, in order to do any of that, we don't have to like give a conservation easement to George's Land Trust. To do that, we may need to do something like that to comply with the deed restrictions in the Smith land.
so I think we are in agreement that at this point, the big action item is to do research with respect to surveyors. You know, how do we approach them? What do they need? How much, what can we give them? We have some surveys. Can we find more source, more info?
Yeah,
If
I
we-
think maybe all of the land has had some kind of preliminary, the stuff that's in my backseat. And that could be built on by the original
Yeah, see,
surveyors.
that's the whole point. I don't know what's available, or we need to research some more, or, is there something else that could be added to that, so that in the end, it
Mhm.
costs less money, because it would take
Yes,
less.
it's a research task, and that's one thing I hope the working group would take on.
That seems to
The,
be,
the information you're trying to gather with the research is gathering together all past surveys?
Yeah, surveys,
Well,
and if
not just
neighbors
gather them
themselves have
to get- yes.
surveys.
No, I understand that, so
Yeah.
it's consider that a step one, let's,
Yeah,
step one.
and then, the town will not, I assume for budget purposes and, good fiscal management, you need to have proposal from several surveyors.
Right.
So that in the end,
Wait,
one
yeah.
is selected.
Yeah, RFP, put out
Yeah.
an RFP for
oh,
it. Okay.
just as an aside here, the forester thing, I think we should stop thinking about that.
It's
We're not intending to
not
do
the
any
top five,
forestry,
not the
and
top five.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
get-
exactly what
get that,
we came down to, that the survey as a
yeah.
priority.
put that on the back burner,
Burner.
put that forester on the back.
And we
burner.
have, we have time, time comes by fast. Because foresters will need to walk the land, and same thing for the
Yeah, but
surveyors.
what are we trying to get out of the forester?
Well, the foresters will be for good management of that asset. Like,
Yeah,
again,
but we're not gonna manage it for. For what do you want to get out of it? I mean, what,
Well, one thing I would like to get out is a sense of, are there invasives that are doing damage? Or are there,
yeah,
are there trees that are at risk from invasive insects
Yeah,
that we
like
should
the
be
health
doing
of the
something
trees.
about? And are there some places where trees are diseased and we should get them out of there before damage spreads? That
what do you
kind
get
of
out of
thing.
your forester? The same
Oh, I
thing.
wanted to make logs for money.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
No,
mean, it's
no.
entirely different scene,
Yes,
that's what I'm trying to figure
that
out.
is not
what
the
we would
vision.
get,
It
what
is to
I
protect the
reckon.
health of the forest.
Yeah, but I still think it should be, put on the back burner for,
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
or
there's-
maybe there
Why-
are volunteer groups that would help
By the
us
way,
without charging a bundle.
yeah, I mean,
Who knows what a saw log's gonna be worth in 15 years?
well, we're not going to cut saw logs on there. I mean, that's, I think, a given. We're not going to be
I did,
looking to make money by cutting
Yeah,
saw
I
logs.
think when, what's her name, Megan? The person who was.
Maren.
Maren,
She said it's possible that there would be some trees that should come out for the health of the rest of the forest, and you might make a
Yeah,
little money
yeah.
incidentally on them.
yeah, but that's,
But that would
That's
not be
like
the
weeding your
goal,
garden.
that would be incidental.
I just made a note, under sort of priority of projects, I got number one is survey, number two is Garner Trail Constructor Info, the guy that built the one down for 4 Point, a couple other people, and then. If you want to go for a walk, it'd be handy to go with somebody that's sort of been trained on, or just, you want to avoid this.
Oh, no, I
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I look at
absolutely.
that, and then public work, and the primary reason for that is that then we can stimulate public participation in trails
Yeah,
and make fewer mistakes and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then the last one I put down was just, well, no, that was basically start getting a list of surveyors.
Yeah.
That could happen in conjunction with, everything, so.
I guess I'm walking, there's so much already there.
yeah.
Cart pathy things that, I mean, why,
Just walk around,
Great.
kind of and map out what exists in the
Yeah.
first place. and then-
That's what's the thing that the forester would do, would be mapping the whole property.
Right.
And again, tell us, like for instance, the Klein corner here is so densely,
Yeah,
built that, don't cut anything there.
Right,
Or,
yep.
or on the contrary, if you can come and trim a few, whatever, for the health of the other trees. That's what the job of the forester is. But I agree, it's not the priority right now. The priority is the survey.
well, once again,
I
I'm
can make
repeating
a couple
myself,
call,
but
I'm in at the gallery tomorrow, I can make a couple calls to surveyors and start seeing, what kind of information they might want. Things like that.
I think we need to start with the folks who did the 3 surveys we've got.
Yeah.
I'm not picking one, I'm just
Yeah, no,
call them up
even
and say,
if-
listen, I've got.
So that you have a good sense of, I think we should have like maybe a meeting of a few people, like make an inventory of all the surveys that are available.
Mhm.
And like, how are you gonna describe that and so forth, so
Okay.
that, we know what we're talking about.
You wanna Monday or Tuesday next week?
Well,
Next
I'm
week is
going away
Christmas
next
week.
It is Christmas, really?
yeah,
I'm afraid December is melted.
I'm just getting used to it being December.
I'm going away next week and Monday.
55 degrees yesterday.
And
It can't be-
Christmas is actually on a Monday, so, and New Year's is the following.
All right,
Monday.
well, I'm only trying to say is I'm very happy to get together as soon as somebody else wants to
Yeah.
figure out how to get all that information together and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I might be able to chat with Terry for a second, just to say, how do you go about gathering this stuff?
And,
What do we have?
Well, I have no idea, and,
It's in my car.
yeah,
We can pull it out, but I'm not going this minute
oh, no, okay.
after the meeting.
Well,
Oh, but I
No.
did want to ask, they're in my car because I was gonna take them to the registry of deeds to get copies made. And I haven't gone yet because I didn't get hold of the LeBranch survey until this week.
right,
And I want to know, how many copies do you think we should have?
3. Just
Give me-
put a number up.
Well, I want one copy of each that we don't mess with,
Right,
so that we have it in reserve. And how many do we need to work with? Will 2 more do it for now?
yeah.
I think so.
Yeah,
We have plenty.
as long as we
Okay.
keep a clean one, we can always get
Right,
another
so
copy.
I will make 2 copies of each of the 3 clean ones I have.
Yeah, do you want to
Okay.
get together
Oh, gosh. We can talk later. My
Okay, all
calendar
right,
is
yeah.
a mess.
and just go through the stuff you have and start putting it?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we can
Yeah.
take a minute after the meeting and I'll
Cool.
spread them out and you can have a look.
Yeah.
All right. So we've sort of done 5. How much the land to add. Funding, I just wanted to let you know that John's letter did bear a little fruit. Hold on a sec. Wonder what I've done with my glasses. Okay. Here we are. I mean, this isn't Monte Carlo, but we got a total of $3,369.38, including 2,500 from McLoon's, which is very nice, and 100 from Leslie and Don Spear. Thank you. And 250 from Brad and Charlotte Hoyt. He's our school board rep. And $519.38 from Sally and Paul DiMaccio. That is the price of 1 acre.
Okay,
I
that's
thought
a-
we
that's-
might do a follow-up note to the community saying,
Sponsor an acre.
would you like to buy an acre?
quarter acre, yeah.
But, you know,
So how much was the acre?
$519.38
That's a
when
great,
you took the actual acreage and divided it
Right,
So
into
it
money.
We could offer a chance to. For smaller donations.
Well, it's like buy a brick on the
Yeah, I
pad.
know.
Yeah.
Bricks don't cost $500 or something.
No, but you
But
could buy
250
a
is like
quarter
that's, you know,
acre.
yeah.
We
A
could
quarter
have-
acre,
We
yeah,
could,
that's
we could
nice.
say, if you would like to. you know,
Quarter acre would be, yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
very.
$100, right,
Yeah,
basically,
about,
yeah.
yeah,
120
27.
something,
52.
yeah, yeah.
I did that in my
That's a
head.
great thought. That would be a great way to do another appeal by,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
using
So
that.
how was this first appeal sent out?
It was.
There was a
via-
letter John sent that I sent to all of you.
via-
No, I didn't. I
Yeah, the
didn't. Terry
listener.
sent it to everybody.
So it's like, it's always the question, it's like, how many people do we reach with a listserv? We don't-
Yes, and with her understated usually headings, so that, right. This one just said, no, that was her note to me tonight, but what does it say? It said,
When are the tax bills sent?
update on land purchase, select board letter seeking donations for land purchase. Well, that was more than she usually says. And $3,369.38 and counting.
Wow.
I like that idea, because now I get to go to McLuhan's and have a lobster steamed clams to say thank you.
Yeah.
So that was McLuhan's, lobster walk thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm sure there's more,
more McLuhan's than
there's
that.
still more to the company
Yeah.
than the
I'm
lobster
just-
place. Yeah.
Yeah.
That, but it was the restaurant that made the donation.
Right,
okay, so. I think we have already decided that we're going to put 7 Georges River assistants on the back burner, more or
Well,
less.
I can't hear you.
Georges River assistance, which is item 7 on the agenda. I think what we're concluding for now is that's not the route we're going at this point. Is we're not looking to
Sign an easement anytime soon.
yeah,
right. Yeah, because they're not interested. Well, let's put it this way, they can't help us until we have a survey.
well, they can, they can also do, they can also be our agent to accept donations from people who have to give to
Or
a
charity.
charity,
Yeah,
but that does not come cheap.
So
That
money
is a
that came
service
in
that they
came
would charge us for.
to the town.
Yes,
Oh, it can. I mean,
No,
people are
I
free to
mean,
do
so-
it, but there
so,
are some people,
Yeah,
Who's-
I understand that.
you know,
The money that came in now just came,
just came straight to the town.
yeah,
so
No strings.
Terry puts a label on it somewhere and.
that 3,200, whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
38 cents.
For these.
I looked at that and I thought, what? And then I realized. Okay, so. I would like to leave her tonight with a working group, created.
I'm interested in working on the survey, but, you know, I'm looking at the schedule with the holidays and stuff. I'm not available until Monday, January 8th.
Well, you know,
Understood that this is a time of year when,
I'm happy to
Sir.
get together when you get back and your schedule gets as good, because I'm here all the time. Give me a call.
January 8th, you know,
Yeah.
that's a Monday and that'll be available.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
This is what I
sure I
love to
won't
do
be
it-
busy on January 1st, but it's like you may have family.
right. Yeah, as I said, just after,
Yeah.
we'll get to, at least me, not anybody else, of course, is welcome. but
Well-
I'm willing to put in some time on
Just
that.
put-
Well, you said
so maybe
said
there could be
three people,
3 commissioners,
yeah.
max.
Just to let you know, I'm gonna be gone for the next 3 meetings. We go down to Georgia, remember?
Yeah.
I'll
Right,
zoom
okay.
in, I'll zoom
Could
in.
you just
but I-
send a email to the group with the dates of when you're
Yeah.
away? Yeah,
Yes.
but you do that every year.
I do that every year. Or
Right.
that.
I'm gonna be gone February, March.
Right, so those of us who are still around,
So,
I don't think there's gonna be a problem not overdoing the numbers.
and we're welcome here.
And Sally can be in anything.
Yeah, I don't count as too much.
That's right,
Because,
you would never
I
count
mean,
as too much.
I mean, as far as,
If there were
What you were
four of us,
saying about
and
You're
you
not a voting member,
if I was a
so,
voting member, you couldn't have four.
Right,
That's
Yeah,
right.
But you can have three people and me,
Yeah,
okay,
because
so as
your
far as,
people too. Okay, we get it. All right,
who's the three people gonna be?
it's whoever
Three
turns up.
commissioners.
yeah.
It's the three of us right now.
right,
Because we'll be in town, but I think maybe it can be just kind of a. As tasks come up, who's
Yeah.
best suited to it, and just make sure we don't have too many.
I don't-
Certainly, when we get to looking on the land, you're going to be very crucial.
Well, that's my bailiwick anyway. I'm
Yes,
more
exactly.
of a worker bee. I'll walk it, I'll shovel things into the
And
grass.
Clippers.
Yeah,
also.
absolutely. Okay, so we'll just do it that way.
Yeah.
Okay,
cool.
so that does it for old business. New business is dark skies. The other group that Sally and I are on, the Knox County Commission's working group, which is going to meet tomorrow night, has been tossing around the idea of a group of the commissions co-hosting a dark skies event. Does everybody know what that
Yeah.
is?
No.
What
I
dark
do.
skies is about?
No, I do not.
This is a movie,
Oh,
it's a movie, right?
No,
well, it's a whole movement to
Yeah.
turn out lights at night.
Oh, I have heard.
No,
To
if you're
protect
building a parking
wildlife,
lot,
to be
yeah.
able to see the stars.
I have heard about this, yeah.
Right, but there have been a number of events around. Lincolnville has organized one explaining why it's important, and a couple of people have been speakers, and others have had this. I haven't seen it, but it sounds like a really cool movie on dark skies.
Mm.
It's a short documentary,
Yeah,
and then a discussion afterward, which is, I think, what the working group is thinking about. And I'm just asking tonight whether South Thomaston Conservation Commission would like to be part of an effort like that.
What would you do? I mean, explain a little bit more to me. I mean, would people literally turn their lights off at a certain time?
No,
No.
there would be like an educational program.
it's the same, it's like.
So is it just
pollution.
talk but not
It's
do it?
like
It would
pollution in
be-
the
There would
organization.
be, for example, and I just was at an event in Waxhaw where it worked beautifully to have a film. It was a film as part of a concert, but would show the film and then have an opportunity for discussion of the film
Yes.
afterward.
Overall, the Dark Skies organization, that they look at light as a pollution, and the
Yeah.
same way that they try to clean up a stream bed, is they sit back and they say, in your planning of if you're doing building permits, consider how the lighting goes,
Okay,
consider
okay.
cutting off your parking lot lights at night, and that kind of stuff,
Oh,
they're trying
I
to
thought you
get.
were literally meaning like, well, I'll put our lights in them.
No,
Why did we talk about it but don't do it?
I mean, part of the planning board, we always, look at
Yeah,
lighting
yeah,
and
yeah,
we
yeah, yeah, yeah.
suppose that it be done with facing,
Right, yeah, yeah.
away from other,
I think it's nice, I went to one of these about 7 or 8 years ago, it was, not around here, but it was very well attended by, so.
I like
That
that.
could, I mean, that's fall within the educational,
Yeah.
responsibility. If it's like movie and discussion and then leave it to people to follow
Yeah.
through.
'Cause it is-
And
pollution.
maybe handouts that people can take home.
Right, yeah. Oh, I'm
Follow up on.
kind of like 100% in favor
So.
of doing,
They were talking about maybe using Watts Hall. Not every little town around here has a space we don't have a good space for this.
Because it's big enough.
It's big enough,
yeah,
it's accessible, it even has an elevator because,
Do they have a screen?
yeah, they do. That's what I was saying. I was just an event that used it.
They have a whole stage.
Yeah, so that
Plays that,
if, we'll find a time it's available. If we do the film, the rental for a nonprofit depends on how many attend. So if you have 50 or less, it's $50. If you have more than 50, it's $150. But if 6 conservation commissions split the cost,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I don't know, there might be some other minor costs associated with it. I assume it would, since it's would be town of Thomaston would be involved, that Watts Hall would be
there's a
available
fee
for no
the
cost.
kids, yeah.
So people come in, see the film and have a discussion.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so
cool.
general sense of that would be good.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
that's
fits
good.
in with education.
Do we
Mhm.
want to have a vote on it just to be official?
Well, do we have volunteer to help look into it? Like, I think it's a
No,
great
I will.
idea,
I
but I
mean-
don't have time.
Well, I think it's just the
No, I think-
consensus of the
no.
board that this is a good.
It'll be a team effort and I'm
Yeah.
already
I,
involved.
I don't think it needs a vote. I mean,
Okay.
just, been
All
brought
right.
up, discussed, and we all, no one.
We're all saying yes.
approve- Disapprove.
All right,
it will be in the minutes that we. approved.
all right.
We approve.
That we all thought it was a great idea.
So the only other thing is I want to note as an item for the next agenda that we need to start talking about the budget,
Budget, yeah.
which will be a more complicated budget this year if we're going to try to say
Mm.
we will need money for these things for the preserve and we hope to raise it, but
Mhm. Mhm.
so
All right,
if we take Catherine's approach, it gets a lot more manageable than otherwise sounded. And if we could go by stages into whether we want to have a preserve with a conservation easement. That could be down the road, but we could start out
Yeah,
just,
So when are we going to make a recommendation to the select board about how much of the original piece is?
well, I think some of us need to walk the land and come up with, hopefully there need to be an STCC consensus at some point of and then we can put a recommendation in writing to the select board, this is where we draw the line and this is why.
Mhm.
And I don't think, we're not ready to do that. We have some work to do on the land.
Yeah.
Which I hope doesn't have to wait till you're back in town.
Well, John and I have been walking it on every Sunday. So I
When do you
could get a
leave?
feel.
When do you leave? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
I,
interrupt.
I can get a feel from John what he's thinking. I don't know what the other, everyone knows that Jeff is not well.
Right,
Yeah.
So it's been kind of a,
Dear.
he hasn't been to, he's going through cancer treatment and stuff. So, but I can get an idea from John what his thoughts are. I mean, he's only one of 3, but he
Yeah.
told me, but I can't quite remember. So just get an idea that we're not too far apart, you know what I
So
mean?
what about your thoughts? I mean, you've been out there.
I know. I don't feel, I kind of go with what John says. He's so far sighted. He said, what if we need another thing? And I'm thinking, we're not even going to be alive 20 years from now, maybe, but he's thinking, you never know. He's thinking of the town,
Mm.
Yeah.
and the grandchildren, and that's how
Yeah.
far
Yeah.
ahead he thinks. He
Well, good
said,
on you.
we don't, he thinks that we might need to have who knows, might be a road and a new town office down there, who knows, So he wants a little more.
Yeah.
And he's only one selectman, but, anyway, when I walk with him, I'll get an idea what he's thinking and, but I guess I'm thinking, what you said, 2/3?
Well, if you look at the
Well,
map, like, there are 2 natural spots. One is where,
line up.
the Stump Dump Road, hops onto, down Prothero's land, and, so we stopped at that point and upwards.
Yeah,
And the second one is assuming the Bourke spot may end up in the town coffers at some point. Continue that straight line
That's
there.
yeah,
So these are the 2, to me, possible things.
right.
Yeah,
I would also suggest that we can always add more land later.
For
But-
cost, it's like, you might as well, you know, because every time you're gonna have to change, you know,
Yeah, but. If there's some, if there is a contingent that is concerned that we don't want to chop too much out of the town land. We can start where there is no disagreement. And
Yeah.
down the road, it could be added to, and that would not be a huge expense, I think.
You mean if, we could leave more free? And we could add free land to the protected land more easily.
Yeah,
Can't go in the other direction very easily,
that's right.
right? Yeah. So we could
And I'm-
leave like half of that property
Roughly
Free.
half,
and,
It is
and
rough-
half
it
would be
would
just
be-
about where that line comes up.
right, it
Oh.
would be, and if you look at the outline of what we'd want to protect, it's a lot easier to do.
Yeah.
Where are
One
you
side
suggesting,
of,
you suggesting here, under the H in Thomaston? South-
Yeah.
Just about, yeah,
Yeah.
just take that green line
Yeah.
up,
Yeah,
right
yeah,
past
but
Nicholas.
that leaves, the Nicholas lot there protected.
yeah.
Well, yes, it's
I
a
mean,
funny little, it's a bump,
That doesn't belong
It's-
to it.
it's so strange, I mean, there's nothing on
It's
it, he's
strange and
not
it's
there.
wet.
so that's another
Strangely, it pays
potential
its taxes on
actions,
every
you know, can we clarify? And eventually film that into the town property, because it has been abandoned, it seems like.
Wait,
Well,
the
no,
board property,
Somebody said he
but he
could
pays
pay
his taxes
on
every
it.
year.
It pays still? I
Yeah.
thought it was.
That is
John looked
really-
into that
Yeah.
and he pays the taxes
Yeah.
on it,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Maybe they're.
Why-
Or he doesn't want anyone to.
If he stops, then we can,
Would you like to stop and to let the town take it?
we'll give you, how many, $500, I don't know how many acres of
But
it.
no, but he could consider donating it and get a tax, you know.
Get a
deduction,
tax, yeah, get a
out of
tax
it
write-off.
Well,
And be done.
It would just be kind of easy to eliminate it, this one.
Yeah.
Just have it as a house.
it's a
but-
conversation worth having.
Yes, I mean, it's worth approaching the person.
Yeah.
Because it's not like he has an access, you know, is he paying, you know, I know Jeff was paying the town to use the Stone Dump Road.
Mhm.
So has Mr. Book paid anything to, you know, access it? If not, then he cannot access his land anyway.
No, it's kind of almost a little locked in there, but
All right,
So he
Are
might
we-
be a very
if-
nice person. who
are
would
we
love
done
that.
with official business?
I think so.
Yes.
Then without objection, I'm adjourning the meeting at 6:12. If people want, I can go out to my car and
Oh, I
bring
thought-
in,
We do that after the holidays.
Yeah.
Right, yeah,
all right.
right, yeah.
I'm good with that too.
Yeah,
And we just have to
Holidays,
remember to
everybody,
turn that on.
I don't wanna think about it for now.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
happy holiday.
Happy holiday.
Yeah.
Happy
and if I don't see any of you, I will see you in April.
Yes, happy
I'll
holidays.
see you around the, around the hood.
You're gonna.
Or January 2nd.
Same thing to that.
Great time.
Right,
Yeah.
just think, I just don't know.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's good, I don't, because even the, you know, the fact that.
Know the answer to that question immediately. It's not like you're.
Hallelujah.
Town starts
Now,
considering
Who's
how
that
much
attractive
wants to
woman?
divide out.
Yeah.
That old lady.
Big fun.
You know what?